got some huge updates regarding the next stimulus package and potential social security changes. John Manchin just did something that's going to have the massive impact on both of these things. Now, Betty White did just pass away, folks, just before 100 years old. And not only was she just beloved in general by seniors, but she was also instrumental when it comes to women's rights and the woman kind of being involved in the workforce. And obviously, she was just such beloved person in the Senate community. So a little moment of silence for Betty White. And with that said, let's jump right into things involving the economy. And the data that just came back show that in December, the United States gained about 200,000 jobs, which is actually less than expected. So that was actually bad for the economy, kind of bad. But the unemployment rate dropped to 3.9%. That's good for economy, and that's actually better than expected. They wasn't expected to hit this number until the 26th. Then experts thought we are going to hit 4.1% last month. So unemployment continued to go down and went down a lot more than expected. And the biggest sectors was really leisure and hospitality. So these sectors that were hit the most during the pandemic continue to gain jobs a lot more quickly. Now, although this is good for economic, it's technically bad for stimulus. And really, what this means is that the Fed is probably going to start raising the interest rate more quickly, which means mortgage rate is going to go up. So a lot of seniors like to refinance, kind of take money out their homes and use that money for retirement. So those rates are going to go up. And then at the same time, we have John Manchin saying if unemployment continues to go down, the economy is doing well. This is another reason why we don't need more stimulus. Whereas if they can do smaller, multiple meal deals, and it makes it a lot easier and get things done one by one. Now, with that said, John Manchin just did something that obviously once again is going to make things more difficult. So let's talk about what he just did. Let's play this clip showing that a lot of billionaire donors are spending millions of dollars in the West Virginia. Looking Party is turning up the pressure on the West Virginia Democratic Senator John Manchin. Manchin has been criticized by fellow Democrats over not supporting President Biden's domestic agenda. And now the GOP is targeting him on his home turf with the $1 million ad campaign in West Virginia. I do not support getting rid of the filibuster name. Chuck Schumer knows that. If liberals eliminate the filibuster, Senator Schumer and Speaker Nancy Pelosi could jam through their socialist agenda core. Senator Manchin tell him to keep his promise to protect the Senate filibuster. When being asked, NBC News reporter Ben Comey turns out now he has been tracking this being who exactly is behind this news. The congressman answers, yes, so this is the Door Money Group that's run by the conservatives with a lot of tie to the Senate minority leadership. This is the group that's very well known as Capitol Hill, very well known in Washington, as working for Republican Party's agenda, specifically sentences agenda. So this is kind of seen as an offshoot of the effort to try and keep the pressure on Manchin because they know, like most Republicans and Democrats in this city do, that Manchin is one of the last shot to pour out publicly, at least on the issues like filibuster, and could, if he ends deciding to get seats and his Democratic colleagues, some big changes could happen in Washington. So, what's the reality around John Manchin right now? I mean, is he actually vulnerable in West Virginia right now? Yeah, this is the big question. This is a Republican state. It's got a Republican governor who switched parties, and suddenly Republicans up and down most elected office. Yet Manchin has figured out how to still survive in this climate. He's run in competitive races before he runs in this state as the shift to the right, and he's held on. So the question is, as the state continues to shift to the right, as we become more partisan, is Manchin politically vulnerable? I see the answer is yet. He's politically vulnerable, but he's a kind of delicate who has so far been able to weather the storm. And just one thing to note, he's not up for re-election until 2024, so it is still pretty unknown what that landscape may look like for him in 2024. But what we do know is they are trying to put the pressure on him now. And what about other Democrats? Are you hearing any reaction to this from the rest of the party? So, Democratic groups has been running this sort of similar John Manchin style westward campaign, playing out on the West Virginia airwaves, trying to get some the road well of the sport, either for the Biden agenda against the Biden agenda. But there's a lot of different schools, so this there's what is going on the Capitol Hill. There's what's going with the leadership trying to work Manchin both from both sides. But this is just another facet of that trying to work the population, trying to work the West Virginia voters to kind of making their voice heard and having the filter back up dimension. This article says Manchin parts Schumer purple when it comes to changing the filibuster rules. Now, Chuck Schumer laid out his most forceful argument yet to change the Senate rules and create filibuster cave out for voting rights and approving the next stimulus package. Senator John Manchin doused him with the cold water immediately. The West Virginia Democrats told reporters minutes ago to carve out could be vote and vote. Now, with that said, Chuck Schumer continued to press John Manchin. The White House, as he said, they are still continuing to try and get the Build Back Better stimulus done. The question was that Schumer Majority Leader Schumer said yesterday that he expects the negotiation to resume shortly in the near term between the president and John Manchin about the Build Back Better. Do you have any? You were asked about this yesterday, but let me see if I can get update. Okay, any timeline or guidance on when those discussions may start? And will they just start in the short order, or is voting right the priority right now? The Chambersky answers, well, we can walk and chew gum the same time. And I can assure you that we are in touch with the range of senators and their staffs and committee staff about the Build Back Better, even as we are working in the lockstep with the leader Schumer about getting voting rights done the huge priority to the president. So I could not confuse the legislative calendar with the lack of action or behind the scenes discussions about important priority. And ultimately, for the larger goal of seeing Bill teach better, is willing to sign the final piece of legislation that did not include that expanded the child tax. Yeah, I'm just not going to negotiate from here, but the president obviously sees the child tax credit extension as the key priority. He sees it as benefit that has provided a central assistance to families across the country, has cut childhood poverty by 40%. That's amazing statistic. So we are going to continue to fight absolutely to have it done.